So we'll start by chanting Om 3 times, followed by the invocation shlokas. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vedvishavahai Om Shanti 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 समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्. As we are studying Upadesha Sara, let us chant the Mangalacharanam Shloka for Upadesha Sara. So please one of you go off mute and repeat after me. Antaryascha bahirvidhutatimiram
Antaryascha bahirvidurtimiram
ज्योतिर्मयं शाश्वतम्
Jyotirmayam shashvatam
स्थानं प्राप्य विराजते विनमताम्
Sthanam prapya virajate vinamatam
अज्ञानमुन्मूलयन्
Ajnana unmulayan
पश्यन् विश्वमपीदमुल्लसति यो
Pashyan vishwam pidamul ullasit
सति यो
Vishv
विश्वस्य पारे परः
Vishwasya pare parah
तस्मै श्रीरमणाय लोकगुरवे
Tasmai Shri Ramanaya Loka Gurave
शोकस्य हन्त्रे नमः.
Shokasya Hantre Namaha.
So, as we are studying Upadesha Sara, what we are looking at is the Vichara Marga. That is the path of inquiry. Now, when in this path of inquiry, what Ramana Maharshi is saying is, Bhagavan is saying is, there are, in every thought, there are two components, right? Idam vritti and aham vritti. Aham vritti doesn't change, idam vritti keeps changing. So the aham vritti, because it is always there, aham vritti is I. And then idam vritti is this. What is this versus I? Whenever I have a thought about something. So the implicit understanding is that I am thinking about a thing, or I am looking at something, I am seeing something, either I'm perceiving something, I'm understanding something. This I is the root of all thoughts. Without I, there can never be a thought. So this aham vritti and idam vritti. So that means what happened is that all idam vrittis, okay, all the thoughts about everything else are based upon or rooted in I thought. Now this I thought itself is, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi is saying, that is illusion. Because when he says, when we inquire into the source of where is this I coming from, so that's where he asked the question, Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinmataha. Where is this I coming from? What is the source of I? Then, can I say this body is the source of I? Body cannot be the source of I Because this body is experienced. Body is experienced means in our Vedanta we study that yad drishyam tat jadam. Whatever is experienced is inert. Now, how can inert be the source of a thought? No, it cannot be. Now, this can the source of I be Atma, the self itself? It cannot be either. Why? Because this I thought, especially, I thought that when I say I, what is my understanding as a human being? My understanding is that I am Venkat. I am this body. Now, whatever is the source of, if the source of I is the self, it won't say that, oh, I am this body. The self is not going to say I am this body. So this thought I has no locus either in the body or in the self. So this thought is not a valid or it is not a fact. So it is just a figment of imagination. So now once we start inquiring in this manner and once we start seeing this, we understand this, the I itself is illusion. When we look at this in this manner, this I immediately ends. So this is a path of knowledge. Now, what happens when this I ceases? It doesn't mean that I become empty. Instead, what happens is that when this aham, uh, this I thought, aham, nasha bhajya aham taya, spurati hrut swayam paramo purna sat. So at that time, this in our heart, okay, the real I comes. So that means it is, think about like a veil is there. This veiling thing, this I thought is removed, the real I shines forth. So now, then when that is said, and this I, that our true I, idamaham padabhikya manmaham. So that means this Ruth. So he says that this I, the real I, Bhagavan calls it as Ruth. Ruth means the core, inner core. Without this core, where this body doesn't exist. So that inner core, the innermost core, is our true self. And this aham, this I, pada abhikyam anvaham. So that means that this is deserved to be known as aham. This is glory. This is worthy of praise. This is worthy of worship. That is what it is. Now, the question is that when there is one veil fell off, the real I has come, you are saying. How can I be sure that this is true I? Is it not another veil? No, no, no. Bhagavan says, Ahamirinake apyalaya satyaya. So, when this fake I is there, right? Where this ahankara is there. When this ahankara goes, when I go to deep sleep, this ahankara or this ahamvruti ceases. Because when I wake up, I mean, like I said, the thing is that during my waking time, I thought is always there. In my dream, also there's a I thought is there. Because I'm seeing a dream and experiencing something. In my deep sleep, there's no I thought. So what happened? This ahankara ceases. However, this, whereas this aham, this fake I, aham, when it is laya, meaning it dissolved in dream, this real I, on the other hand, is shining forth even in our deep sleep. How do we know that? Simple thing is that I don't recall anything in my deep sleep from my ego perspective, from my ahankara perspective. Yet, when I wake up, if someone asks, hey, did you have good sleep? Yes, I slept like a log. I know nothing. This is what we say. So that itself means that the real I is there all the time throughout our waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. And that is the one, because of the presence of that real I, even though this Ahankara is not there, when I wake up, I know that I have a deep sleep. So this true I, right, for example, in the Mandukya Upanishad, this true I is called as Turiya. Okay. Turiya means actually or Chaturtham, or fourth, basically. That's what it means. Because we have three states, right? Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. And this Turiya, or the fourth state, this true I, is witness of all other three states. So in Tattva Bodha, when we study it, in the definition of Atma, it says Avasthatraya Sakshi is part of the definition. Avasthatraya, there are three avasthas: Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti. And these, the one who is witnessing all these three states, this Sakshi is Atma. So this is the true I. So this is the real I. So now what happened is that in this one, right? So there is in this Paramapurna Sat Rut Aham. Okay, so that the word Sat word has come here. Okay, and then we are also studying the other shloka, in the 22nd shloka we were studying, Vigrahendriya Pranadhitamah Naham Eka Sat Tajadam Asat. So that's what we are studying. So again, there is Sat and Asat discussion is coming in the last shloka also. So now what is Sat and what is Asat? We need to understand a little bit. So we studied this part usually, like, I mean, this discussion comes in detail in Tattva Bodha, but we will just take a 5-minute detour and to understand what is Sat, what is Mithya, and what is Asat. Now, Satyam or Sat, usually it means fact. Now, I am Venkat. Is it Sat or Asat? So, when I say I am Venkat, it is fact. Now, from Vedantic perspective, it has to be absolute fact. Now, I am Venkat. Venkat is a name given to me by my parents in this lifetime. So, in my previous lifetime, I could have been a dog. In that case, I'm not Venkat. I could have been a cat or a mosquito or a woman or some other person. In any of these cases, my name might not be Venkat. Okay. So what happened is that from a time perspective, it is not necessarily true. Okay. It fails the test of time. So the absolute truth, Sat, has to pass three tests: Desha, Kala, Vastu. Desha means it has to be true across all places. And Kala means it has to be truth across all three periods of time. And Vastu is an interesting fact. Okay? We'll come to that Vastu a little bit, okay, a little bit later. Now, if I say that these are glasses, right? These are glasses. Probably these glasses are made. I bought it about a few years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So that means these are made 4 or 5 years ago. But before that, before these glasses were manufactured, this could be like some kind of a silicon or whatever, like, I mean, glass, right? So some sand or whatever. Then again, after a while, it changes. So the form changes, name changes. So these are glasses are true with respect to current time alone. Okay, so cannot be permanent truth. Now, this is Desha, right? No, sorry, this is Kala. Desha is something interesting. I said, yeah, I said this these are my glasses. Yes. Now, what happened? I'm saying this is my pen. So, which statement is correct?
Both.
Both.
Okay. So, from Vedantic perspective, what happened is that these are glasses is true only as long as I held these glasses. The moment I held a different thing, right? Happened, these glasses moved away. So what was like these are glasses is true with respect to this place. Okay. Now with respect to my right hand, okay, with my right hand, whatever is in my hand is pen. So what happened is that whatever is true for left hand is not true for right hand. The item in right hand. So, or if I look at, this is Venkat, okay? I'm looking at my body, right? This is Venkat. So if this is Venkat, here Venkat is not there. Okay. So Venkat is true with respect to this space content here only. Okay. So here Venkat is not there, here Venkat is not there. Do you follow? Okay. So from a Desha perspective, meaning from a space perspective, this is Venkat is also false. Now, the other thing is that, like as I said, right? Now, these are my glasses, statement number 1. And this is my pen, statement number 2. So what happened to my glasses then? When the statement 2 has come, statement 1 is nullified. Okay? So that means the truth is only with respect to a particular object, not necessarily across the objects. Now, the absolute truth must be passing all these 3 conditions. It has to be true across all 3 times, across 3, I mean, like across the entire space and across all vastu, okay, all objects. Now, and then, of course, when you say Sat, existence, Chit, consciousness, Ananda, Satchitananda is all pervasive. When that Satchitananda is all pervasive, that Satchidananda is there, that existence is there before time, after time, and during the time, past, present, and future, the existence itself, the principle of existence. Because the principle of existence is always there, it passes the test of time. Okay. Now, this Satchidananda is infinite and it is all pervasive. Because it is all pervasive, no matter where you go, that Satchidananda is there. Okay, so it passes the test of space. Okay. Now, this vastu, right? I said this is pen. And then I said these are my glasses. Yeah. So in these 2 statements, in glasses, is there Satchitananda?
Yeah.
In pen, there's Satchitananda?
Yeah.
So Satchitananda is there whether I talk about pen or glasses or a mouse or a keyboard or anything in this world I talk about, even a thought I talk about, there is Satchit Ananda is there. Okay. So everything in this universe is made up of Satchit Ananda. Hence, that Satchit Ananda Vastu, which is Brahman alone, is Sat, truth. Okay. Which is absolute truth. Okay. So Sat is something, Satyam is something that cannot be negated based on time, Kala, based on location, Desha, or based on the object. So that is changeless across all these 3 factors. Now, Asat is opposite of this. That means it is never there. So in our Vedanta, we say that a horn on a rabbit can never be there. Okay? Or like that, they give some examples, right? I mean, things that can never exist, those are asat. Now, sat and asat, they both are easy to understand. Now here, in between Sat and Asat, there's an interesting phenomenon that is there, okay, where I said this is a pen, right? When I said this is a pen, it is not absolute truth, yes, understood. But at the same time, I cannot say that it is not there either. It can never exist either. So it is truth to some extent because I can experience it, but it can still be negated. So whatever that can exist, but can still be negated is called as mithya. So now the simple mithya is easy to understand. Mithya examples are, you look at sky. There's a blue color in the sky. No matter how far you go, you don't see the actual blue color, some blue based sky. Okay, because there's no blueness, it is just an illusion. Now you take, that's one example. Okay, now we are refining this example. I mean, like we are expanding this example a little more. You see a rainbow. Is a rainbow there? Yes, I saw a rainbow. But is it really there? No matter, like if you take a car and drive, you chase the rainbow, you can never get to the base of the rainbow. Right? Either the rainbow disappears because it's an optical illusion, or you can never get there. Now, but it was there. I experienced. Now, our life is also like that. It is always changing. I can experience, but it can be negated. Meaning, 70 years ago, I wasn't there. 70 years from now, I will not be there. As Venkat, I may be there as the Satchidananda factor in me will be there as something else. But as a different Nama, different Rupa. But my current Nama Rupa will not be there. So, we start with Sat, Mithya, and Asat. So this, me as Venkat in this particular form is Mithya. So now, this Mithya, what happens is, what is the lifespan of Venkat? 70 years, 80 years, 110 years, let us say. Okay. Now, with respect to infinite scale of time, what are these 100 years? Nothing. Okay. With respect to infinite space, forget about this infinite space. Even within my home, yeah, across these many thousands of square foot home, how much space do I require? Very little. So, from a space perspective, I am very limited. From time perspective, I'm very limited. Hence, it is as good as I'm not there. Hence, I am asat. So when we are looking at that, one way to look at is satyam, mithya, and asat. When we have to categorize the satyam, mithya, and asat into two categories. That remains separate. Mithya and asat will go together and it will become asat. Okay. So why are we saying all of this is, okay, now in shloka number 22 that we are studying, Vigrahendriya Pranadhitamaha Nahameka Sat Tajadam Hey Asat. So Vigraha, Indriya, Prana, Dhi, Tamaha. Five words are there. Vigraha is like a structure, a solidified structure, like what we call as a sculpture. Okay, a sculpture is a Vigraha. So, for example, you say, oh, there is a statue. Vigraha is an actual statue. So, like a statue of Mahatma Gandhi, all right, like that. So, like that, what is the concrete aspect in our physics is our physical body. So, this Vigraha stands for our Sthula Sharira. Indriyas are talking about Karmendriyas and Jnanendriyas, etc. Pranas, of course, Prana, Vigraha, Indriya, Prana. Dhi stands for Mana. Dhi means intellect, but Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, all of them together. And Tamas is standing for Ajnana. So Ajnana is Tamas Ajnana is standing for Karma Sharira. Indriyas, Prana and Dhi, they're all standing for Sukshma Sharira, and Vigraha is standing for Sthula Sharira. None of them are my true nature. Na aham. Okay, Vigraha, Indriya, Prana, Dhi, Tamaha, none of these are me. But aham eka sat. Okay, I am one truth. So the truth whose nature is one. One means it is referring to Advaita. And everything else, this Vigraha, Indriya, Mana, Prana, Buddhi, what are those? Tat, Jadam hi Asat. They are Jadam. Jadam means inert. Whatever is Jadam is Asat. Again, we used to study this quite a bit in Dugdasha Viveka and Tattva Bodha also. What? Yadrishtam tat jadam. Whatever is experienced is inert because they're all objects. Okay? Yad jadam tat nashwaram means whatever is inert are subject to destruction. Yen nashwaram tan mithya. Whatever appears to be there and later it got destroyed, that means it is mithya. Yen mithya tat asat. Whatever is mithya is essentially asat only. Okay, so like that, all these vigraha, indriya, prana, dhi, tamaha that we are talking about, meaning my stula, sukshma, karna, shara, they're all jadam and they're all asat. Okay, so with that, we are going to start with our next shloka. So any questions before we start our new shloka? So we will chant the next shloka. So sattva bhasika chitva chitko etara. Okay, chitka vetara. Sorry, chitka vetara. Sattaya hi chit chittaya hi aham. Chittaya hi aham. So here sattva and bhasika together becomes sattva bhasika. Chitkva vetara. It has 4 words. Okay, chit qua, okay, and va. So the qua, va, see chit qua vai, right? The chit qua is first va, and va, that way is another second va. Chit qua va itara. So there are 4 words in there. Chit qua vetara. Sattaya, okay, sattaya, he, one single word. Chit chittaya. So that again, there are 2 words in there. Chit and then chittaya. Chit and chittaya together are becoming chit chittaya. Hyaham. Hyaham is 2 words again. He, aham. Together becomes hyaham. So one of you go off mute and repeat after me. Sattva bhasika chitva vetara.
Sattvabhasika Chitkavetara
Sattaya hi chet chittaya hyaham.
Sattaya hi chet Chittaya hyaham.
Here, this is again an equation. Okay. Sattva, okay. This sattva we're talking about, not sattva rajas tamas. Okay. Sattva is here referring to sat aspect. This sat aspect, which is existence, this bhasika means it is illuminates. Okay. And it illuminating and it is revealing its existence. And now chit kwa vetara is there, right? Chit qua it va itara. So chit qua va itara means chit qua, question mark, qua is what? Okay, is it? Where? Like that. Okay. Va means or. Itara is different, itara means other. Okay. So Sattva Bhasika Chitva Vetara is actually a question. What is the question? The one that is, because in the previous shloka, in which shloka it is 20th shloka, Surati Hrut Swayam Parama Purna Sat. Okay, this Parama Purna Sat, this Sat which is complete, right? That is Spurati. Spurati means it is shining. So now, because he already said that it is shining, so now he's saying this Sattva which is shining, is it different from Chit? That is a question. Is Sat different from Chit? That is a question. Now, what kind of question it is? In Sanskritam, it is called as Kaku Prashna. Kaku Prashna means, how do we translate into English, is rhetorical question. So this is not a question that's supposed to be answered yes or no. Okay. It means that it's a rhetorical question, and the answer obviously is okay, no. Okay. Is it really different? Okay, when we ask, are you sure it is different? Then the answer most likely is no. Right? Depending upon how the question is asked. So here Bhagavan is asking Sattva Bhasika Chitko Vetara. Then he himself answers, Sattaya hi chit, Chittaya hi aham. Sat alone is Chit and Chit alone is me. So now what happened? Sat equals Chit, Chit equals aham. This is the equation. So now in Vedanta, he said Satchitananda Brahma. Okay, so there, how many words are there? Satchitananda Brahma.
4.
4. Satchit Ananda and Brahma. And when our Vedanta says Aham Brahmasmi, what does that mean?
I am Brahman.
I am Brahman. So again, Aham is same as Brahman. So here there are 5 words actually: Sat, Chit, Ananda, Brahma, and Atma or Aham. All of them are one and the same only. Okay. So now think about this way, right? First, let us understand this in different angles. If I say big, white, fresh lotus, okay? Big, white, fresh lotus. Now, how many things it is referring to?
4.
4 words are there. But how many things are there in there?
There's only one, which is a lotus. Or
There is only one lotus. The big, white, and fresh are 3 different attributes of lotus. All these 3 are pointing to the qualities of the same lotus. Okay, I cannot separate big from white aspect of lotus. I cannot separate white from the fresh aspect of lotus. Okay, however, even in attributes, there are 2 types of attributes. Okay, now if there is a big lotus, there can be a small lotus too, where big can be falsified, because this big lotus was a small lotus at some point. Okay, and white lotus as a bird, right? It may not be completely white. It could be of maybe somewhat greenish tinge may be there or something else is there, right? As a bird. And then similarly, the freshness may go away. Today it is fresh. 2 days from now, it is probably like not so fresh lotus, right? So these are attributes that are valid with respect to like time or etc. Right? These are not necessarily inherent attributes or inherent qualities. Whereas there could be like some other attributes that are absolutely valid for that, and without which that object doesn't happen to be itself. Too many words. Okay, simple. If I say a red color fire, red is an attribute of fire. Yes.
Yes.
Now there can be blue fire also, especially like if you use gas stoves, it's a blue flame. Okay, right? And then there could be orange fire color, etc. Now, what is that quality of fire without which uh, that fire doesn't exist?
The
Heat.
heat.
Heat. If you remove heat, that fire cannot be fire. That fire cannot be called as fire. So this is called as Swarupa Lakshana. Okay, Swarupa. Okay, that is the core essential aspect. And in case of fire, there is only one Swarupa Lakshana, which is
Heat.
the heat. For Brahman, we identified three core Swarupa Lakshanas, which is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Now, why are we calling it as Brahman? Bruhatvat iti Brahman. Okay? Bruhatvat means because of its bigness. Brahma means the meaning of Brahma is big. It is not Bhagwan, it is not God or anything like that. It simply means big. Brahman means big. Why it is called big? You look at this universe, is it big or not? It is big. If this entire universe is big, whatever the source of this universe must be bigger than the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. But if you are smart, you could have asked a question. Look at this mango seed, this much. Okay. From this much of a mango seed, this whole big mango tree can come. So can't Brahman be small? Okay. So that's the question. What happened is that Brahman is defined as the only one, and there's nothing other than Brahman. Keep that definition in the mind now. With that, when I plant this seed in the soil, how did this seed sprout and grow? It absorbed something from outside. What did it absorb? It absorbed water from the soil, nutrients from the soil. Once it started growing up, it absorbed the sunlight and all of these factors. And it took things from here, there. And with all of those inputs, okay, all of that feeding, it grew from maybe 20 grams seed to, however, we don't know, depending on the size of the tree, it could be 2000 kilos, right? 2-ton tree, right? All of that is, it took from elsewhere, here, there, everywhere. Now, Brahman, when we say, right, is the cause of this universe, and there's nothing else other than Brahman. So now, when the universe comes out, how can universe take something from something else? Okay, because other than Brahman, nothing exists. So, if this entire universe came from Brahman and there's nothing other than Brahman, obviously this entire universe must be enveloped within Brahman alone. So, because it is being enveloped within Brahman and it is bigger than biggest thing, okay? That's why Brahman is big. That's all it is. Okay. Now we said Sattaya Hichit. Now suppose, okay, so how do we say that Sat alone is Chit? If no, let us say Sat is not Chit. Okay. If Sat is not Chit, then what is the problem? Sat doesn't have consciousness. Yes? If Sat doesn't have a consciousness, then what will Sat become? It will become Jadam, inert. Okay? And again, like today, even though I'm using this maxim quite a bit, right? I'm not going to actually explain why that is true, because we did it in past. If maybe we'll do it again in the next session. But today, for overall understanding, yad drishyam tad jadam, and we said yad jadam tad nashwaram. So whatever is inert is subject to destruction. So if Sat is without consciousness, then it becomes inert, and that inert is subject to destruction. So anything that can be destroyed cannot be Sat. It can be only Mithya. So Sat has to be Chit. Okay. Now look at other way. Okay. Sat is Chit. Okay. So maybe Sat is part of Chit, but Chit can be without Sat. For argument's sake, I mean, this is all like important, right? But because we are saying Sat alone is Chit, Chit alone is. So that's why we need to understand this. If Chit is not Sat, then what does Chit become?
Jadam. Tad Jadam.
No, if Chit is not Sat, Chit will become Asat.
Asat.
Then it doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Okay. So Chit has to be Sat. So Sat equals Chit, Chit equals Sat. Okay. Now, from a textbook perspective, from this text, Sattaya hi Chit, Chittaya hi Aham. Now let us say Sat and Chit are one same. Now, if let us say Sat is different from Aham, let us say. If Sat is different from Aham, then Aham becomes object, if Sat is different from Aham, then Sat becomes object of experience for Aham.
Could you please repeat?
If Sat is different from Aham, then Sat can be experienced by Aham. Because Aham is the subject, and that subject experiences every other thing. So if Aham is different, if Sat is different from Aham, Sat must be experienced by Aham.
Mm-hmm.
If that is experienced, then what happens? Aham becomes idam, drishyam, or it is seen. And if whatever is seen, again, previous principle, yadrishyam tajadam, whatever, and then Sat becomes subject to distraction. We just said it is not possible. So you cannot remove Aham from Sat. So Sattaya hi Chit, Chittaya hi Aham. Okay. Now, we already talked about the difference between Chit and Sat. Okay, if you remove Sat from Chit, then Chit doesn't exist. Now, if you remove Chit from Aham, okay, sorry, Chit minus Aham, what happens? You are removing Aham from Chit, then Chit becomes different from Aham, and the same problem. It becomes Drishya, just like Sat, and it can be subject to an object. Cannot be Chit, because Chit is consciousness, right? So you cannot remove Chit. You cannot remove Aham from Chit. And similarly, if you put Aham minus Chit, what happens is that if you are trying to take out Aham from Chit, Aham becomes Drishya or Jadam. So that also doesn't work. So like this, like you can look at different combinations. Now, I want to talk about one more combination that is not listed here. Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit we talked about. Sattaya hi Chit, Chittaya hi Aham. Okay, whichever way we understood that. And now the question is that where does Ananda fit? Okay, because this Ananda, Sat is same as Chit, Chit is same as Sat is somewhat relatively easy to understand and accept. What is this Ananda doing? What is the business of Ananda here? Okay, even though it's not in the text, let us talk a little bit about it. Our Vedanta says, our Upanishad says, whenever there are two, there is fear. Okay, Dvitiyam vo bhayam bhavati. Okay, so whenever there are two, there is fear. Why? From a simplistic perspective, right? If two people are applying for a job, one job, there's a fear whether I get it or not. Okay, this person is my enemy, competitor, rival, right? As simple as that. Then, what are anything that we are afraid of? Think about what are we afraid of? We are afraid of something other than me. Okay, something may happen to me. From where? From outside. Okay, so this, whenever there is something other than me, I get scared. Oh, no, 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 Venkat. Actually, like I get scared when I'm alone. Okay. Yes. What are you scared about? You're still scared about some bhoot pret may come. Okay. Or something happens to me and there's nobody around me. Something happened to me means what? That happening comes from outside only. Okay. So, bi- so that is why dvitiyam vo bhayam bhavati. Now, this sat, now, so this is the idea, right? So now let us go to the sat aspect again. Sat is mentioned as, I mean, like how Sat is defined? Is defined as all pervasive, right? All pervasive. Because it's all pervasive, does it have an end? No. Does it have a beginning? No. Does it even have a midpoint? No. So we say Adi Madhya Anta Rahitam. Okay? Adi Madhyanta Rahitam. Without any beginning, without any midpoint, or without any end. That is the nature of this. And now this is also Ekarasam. Ekarasam means you go to home for dinner and they only have rasam for dinner. Okay. So what do you have for eating? Rasam alone. Ekarasam. So Ekarasam means there is only oneness. Okay. That oneness is that it means that it is homogeneous. Homogeneous means, see, the thing is that, like, let us take a I don't know, payasam, for example. Okay, payasam or kheer is made up of, let us say, vermicelli. So in payasam, what all ingredients are there? Sometimes you taste milk. Sometimes you taste vermicelli. Sometimes you taste uh, that whatever
Sugar.
fruits, right? That fruits you put, raisins, maybe cashews, etc. All of them you feel. But now, ekarasam, now let us say if you only have something like um, simple, like in gulab jamun, what is that? What is the base of gulab jamun? Not base, but the liquid in gulab jamun called
Sugar syrup.
sugar syrup. Okay. Now, if you take the sugar syrup, okay, no gulab jamun, only sugar syrup. It is wherever you taste it, it is identical sugar syrup. Okay, from the top of the container, bottom of the container, left of it, right of it, middle of it, it is homogeneous. Okay, this is what homogeneous is. So that is ekasara or sorry ekarasam. So the Brahman is Ekarasam, Sat, and it is Anantam. There is no beginning, there is no mid point, and there is no end. So, in that, if there is no change possible, okay, it is one alone is there, no matter what is there to do, what happens, okay, where to go. There's nowhere to go, there's nothing to do, or it is just be as it is. So that is why we say just be. Okay, and Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, what he says in Tamil? He says, Chumairu.
Mhm.
Sorry, Sumairu. So Sumairu or Chumairu.
Right.
So,
Umayur.
okay, so that means what?
Just
Just
be
be.
quiet.
Okay, just be means what? Just be means transcend your three bodies, physical body, the Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karma Sharira, and be at it with your own self. Okay. So this Ananta itself is where there's nothing else is possible. That is Ananda. So Ananda, don't think like, like unfortunately what happens is Ananda is described as joy. Okay. A joy or happiness, etc. And then somehow like we have a feeling that there we have like, a lot of fun, a lot of happiness in a different way. No, no, no. It is the let us say you have applied for you are applying for jobs. Maybe you lost your previous job last year. It has been like 14 months since you're jobless, and your all your savings are being depleted, etc. And lo and behold, you got a call from your last interview, and they said you have been accepted. Okay, so you got the job. Now, what is your state of mind? Soon as you hear this news, as soon as you hear news, you close your eyes. The mind is calmed down completely. Like that, okay? So you just be like that for maybe half a second or maybe 3 seconds or whatever, like in very short time. Then like you'll be jumping up and down with joy, like spring and all of that, okay? Calling everybody, hey, I got my job, okay, so now everything that we put on hold, now we can buy all of those things, etc. Everything like happens. But at that moment, what happened when we heard this news? At that time, all our thoughts cease to exist. There is no thought. It is utter calm, utter peace. So there is no good thoughts or bad thoughts. There is no agitations, nothing. So your mind is freed from thoughts. That calmness, where you have experienced in that calmness, you have experienced your true self. You got a glimpse of your true self for that fraction of second. Okay, that experience is called as ananda. Okay, that is our true state when we remove all our thoughts. Okay, so that is why sat is alone is chit. Now sat means what? Like is our body sat?
No.
No. So sthula sharira is sat? No. What about sukshma sharira? No.
That also no.
No. So sukshma sharira is made up of this mind and intellect and thoughts, indriyas, etc. So those are also shut down. Okay, so you remove that. Now, what about karna sharira? Because the karna sharira is the one that is throwing, it is made up of all vasanas, and it is the one that is throwing all vasanas. Okay, vasana, go fructify now. Now it is your time. So, and then you're sitting in a satsang, and then you feel like, okay, now I feel like I want to have a, I don't know, like, um, let's say Coke. Okay, I want to have a Coke, or maybe like I want to go munch on this chocolate or something. Why that thought is coming? Okay, so this is an interesting discussion we are having. Yet why did that thought come? Because the Karna Sharira says it is time for you to push that vasana out. Right? So now that Sthula Sharira, Karna, Sukshma Sharira, Karna Sharira, when all of these are turned off, whatever you experience, that is your true nature. Okay, so that is why this Sat is same as Chit, which is same as Ananda. That Ananda comes from Ananta, unending, and Advaita. Because of this Advaita, oneness alone, and Ananta, unending, right? Because of that, Ananda comes. So Sat is same as Chit, Chit is same as Ananda. Because Ananda is happening because, like, the Stula Sukshma Karna Shariras are not part of Sat. That's why Ananda is there. Sat is same as Chit, is same as Ananda, is same as Brahman. And what about Aham? If there is nothing other than Brahman, whatever I'm thinking as me, Aham, is no different from Brahman. Do you see my point? Okay. So, from our Vedanta perspective, 5 words are there. Sat, Chit, Ananda. And 2 entities are there. Brahman and Aham. But all of them are one and the same. Sat equals Chit equals Ananda equals Brahman equals Atma. Or Aham, Atma slash Aham. Now, this Aham is my true self, not Ahankara. Okay? So I'll pause here to see if you have any questions, because we talked a lot about the logic today, okay, in our session today. So uh, let me see if you have any questions, and then we will start fresh shloka in our next session.
So aham,
Go ahead.
aham is Satchit Ananda, and aham is the ego, right?
So aham can be the true aham, as Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi is saying, is same as Atma. Okay, the false aham he is talking about. So this true aham Atma, he's saying the word that he is using is Krut. Okay, and false aham, he's using the word aham once in a while. Because why? Because the what he's using as false aham is what we call as ahankara. Okay, so that which is part of our Sukshma Sharira. Again, like in last session we talked, right, that Ramana Maharshi Ji is a realized master by birth, or there's little bit whatever thing was there, and he was realized without studying any Vedanta or any Upanishads, etc. So the thought process is same. However, the terminology doesn't conform to standard Vedantic terminology. So we need to do some kind of a mapping once in a while. Okay, a translation needs to be done between what our Vedanta says versus the around Maharshi says. They both are saying the same thing, but sometimes the words may be different. So because when Around Maharshi says manas, okay, usually manas means mana, buddhi, chitta, ahankara, all 4 of them together, like that, right? So that's there are slight differences. Yes.
Venkatgaru, can you talk about that Vastu? You mentioned about Vastu.
Yeah. Vastu is what happens is that we have this. Let me give you a small. It's fun thing, right? So all what you call, like, I was playing with. Okay, I'm just trying to frame this question, right? So. Okay. Anyway, so think about elephant. Did you think about elephant? Yes. Now think about a horse. What happened to elephant?
Elephant gone, horse came.
Horse came. Now think about monkey. A pen.
Horse disappears, monkey comes.
Huh? Okay.
Here's monkey comes.
Okay, so pen, pencil, mouse. Now, what happened is that this vastu is changing in our thought, yes? In our thought, or even like, that is at a mental level. At a physical level, you look in your room, you look at to your right side and see what you can see. Turn your head to right. See something? Okay. You see that? Okay. So now, where is that? It's not in your vision anymore because now you turn your head back. Okay. Now, if you turn your head onto the left side, you'll see something else different. Yeah. Okay. Turn to your left and see like a object. So what happened is that vastu I saw was real, apparently real. However, when the other vastu has come, either in our perception or in our thoughts, the previous vastu disappeared. Now, the true nature, Sat, should not disappear because of the presence of one vastu or other vastu. Or, like, let us say, here, uh, there is a remote control here. You see the remote control? Okay. Now, this is a piece of paper. Okay. Now, what happened is that this piece of paper covered the remote control. Yes.
Mhm.
So what happened is that one thought or one object is covering other object and the previous object is negated. Yes. Now, how
Is
can what is that object? One second, Shabari.
sorry.
What
Is
is hold on. Let me finish this thought process. What is that object that is common to this paper and this watch, right? And this mouse, that no matter which object I am looking at, it is not outside of my focus. That is always there. That is Sat. And the reality is that existence is there common in all of them. See, it is a mouse from a name perspective, Nama Rupa perspective, it is mouse. But from an existence perspective, if you go to the core of this mouse, okay, you say that this mouse is made up of plastic. Plastic is made up of so many molecules. You further disintegrate, it is made up of atoms. You further disintegrate the subatomic particles and then like quarks, whatever, right? And then you come to a point where you say it exists. The existence alone is there. That existence alone is there, whether it is in this mouse or whether it's in the pen, etc. So because of which, whether I bring this vastu or that vastu, that existence doesn't disappear. Okay? I am not paying attention to that existence, but that existence is always there. So that's why it's called Desha, Kala, Vastu, Aparichinnatva. That is what is Sat. Is that clear, Gopali?
Yeah. What's the last word you used?
Aparichinnatvam. Parichinna is one that can be negated or one that can be cut off. Aparichinnam is one that cannot be cut off or one that cannot be negated. So, Sat is Desha, Kala, Vastu, Aparichinna. So, is Sat. Okay.
Thank
So, shall we close now? पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening and we'll